Welcome to the Iguana Chronicles, the podcast where we dive into the wild world of South Florida's invasive iguanas. I'm your host, Mike Ronquillo, and each week we'll explore the fascinating history of these creatures, share thrilling tales from the front lines of iguana removal, and provide essential tips for homeowners and business dealing with these scaly invaders. Get ready for an adventure in wildlife management and education right here on the Iguana Chronicles. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Iguana Chronicles podcast. My name is Mike. I'm the owner of Humane IguanaControl, and this episode is going to be about iguana removal services. We service every type of property. We service homes, buildings, hotels, condominiums, associations, cemeteries, and schools. We service pretty much any kind of property. Iguanas are extremely invasive in South Florida. Since the 1960s, they've just been taking over, and just dispersing and overpopulating areas, pretty much causing infestations in every sort of property. So our services are very unique. We don't just go and remove iguanas. We like to make a full assessment of the property to provide proper iguana removal services. And what that means is if you call us to provide a service, we'll arrive there and we'll assess the entire property, and we'll give you guys advice and pointers of what to do to deter these iguanas from coming back. And what that looks like is, let's say you give us a call. We'll make an appointment. We'll show up to your property. We'll do a full walkthrough, and we'll find areas that are being impacted by iguanas. Let's say they're eating up your landscaping. We'll focus on that area to make sure we capture the iguanas first to help you avoid from having to change out plants or having to constantly take care of these plants, because remember, when iguanas damage these plants, sometimes they don't survive, or they need extra stuff like fertilizer to bring them back. So we'll focus on those spots, to capture those iguanas, to help deter those problems. What we also do is we like to walk around the property and look for any overgrown trees encroaching from other properties. So what happens with this is, let's say one of your neighbors has iguanas, but you don't, what happens is these iguanas climb the trees and they just climb onto your property, using other stuff like fences or bushes. So we'll tell you, hey, look, the best thing to do to avoid these iguanas from coming over is to cut this stuff back. Because once you cut this stuff back, the iguanas can't climb over. So that's one great method to, deter iguanas. Another problem with iguanas is that they love to dig burrows on your property. And our iguana removal services, it includes that. When we do the assessment of your property, we'll look for iguana burrows as well, because the last thing you want is for an iguana to lay 70 eggs on your property, and then you have more an infestation. So we include a lot of services when we do iguana removals. We'll tell you about cutting back the plants, the trees. We'll look for the burrows, and we'll also tell you if there's any access points that they might be coming in through. So in that case, you could block those areas off or install protective borders on those spots. So when we implement iguana removal services, it's not only like I mentioned, remove iguanas. We'll use different tactics to remove these iguanas. We'll use traps. We'll use a long pole snare, grabbers, hand captures, and even a pellet rifle. A lot of people are a little bit unsure about the pellet rifle method. It is legal to use as long as you do it in a humane manner. You have to understand, a lot of times these iguanas are in high places like huge palm trees or big oak trees, and the only way to get them down is by using this method. So we will use this method if it's necessary. We like using our pole a lot. We have a pole that extends 20 feet long, and that gives us an advantage to approach the iguana, quietly and swiftly to get these iguana out of different places. So we have, many different ways that, that we, get these iguanas off of your property. So when it comes to having an infestation in your home, it's not just a 1 week service. This could take weeks, it could take months. It all depends on how many iguanas you have on your property. And a lot of times people think I only have 5 or 6. They think they have 5 or 6 iguanas because these iguanas all look the same. So when we end up seeing these properties, say, I only have 5 or 6, it'll take about a month. I'm like, all right, we'll let you know how long it's going to take. So as we go removing, now we're removing 10 and then 15 and then 20. She's like, I had no idea I had 20 ones on my property. I go, yeah, because they all look the same, and they could be coming on from other properties. So it's funny because a lot of people just think they have just a few iguanas, and they really end up having a lot more of iguanas on their properties. So we have different types of removal techniques we use. Like I mentioned, the pole snare, the pellet rifle, the traps, the grappers. One of the ones that we love to do is the nighttime iguana removal service. That's one that's really shown great results throughout the years. We're gonna have a full episode about that coming up on one of our episodes. One of the major complaints we get is the iguana poop around swimming pools. We try to tell clients of how to deter this from happening. We'll give different strategies and different ideas of how to stop this, because it becomes very frustrating to have iguanas, defecating constantly in your pool. Again, this is a major health risk for this iguanas to leave droppings in your pool. So once we locate where the iguanas are defecating around the pool area, we typically set up traps in those spots, because for some reason or another, iguanas love pooping in the same exact spot. We have clients say, "Hey, I washed it off yesterday, and here it is again in the same exact spot." So what we'll do is we'll put traps, along those areas where the iguanas are defecating at, and we have extremely great success on, removing these iguanas from those areas. One thing we see a lot, which we don't understand, it's crazy and it's kind of disgusting. A lot of homes have pools that also have jacuzzis attached to these pools, and they have this little waterfall from the water that falls from the jacuzzi into the swimming pool. And that little spot where the water falls, iguanas love pooping in that spot. I don't understand why. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I've tried to do research on it. I can't find anything, to be honest. So we get all these calls from these homes of the iguanas, defecating in these pools, and it's mostly always in that spot. And you got to think about it. These iguanas pooping on this exact spot where the water flows, it's just constant feces, just getting washed into the pool like nonstop. And this becomes super annoying for these home residents. Like they just clean the pool, and then a day later the iguana comes back and poops again. If you think about it, the money you're spending on the pool guy, by removing the iguanas, you're going to avoid the headache of having to clean the pool, being able to enjoy your pool and not have to deal with a mess. Because when the iguana feces, washes into the pool, it just splatters everywhere. It just dissipates and just, it just becomes a huge mess inside your swimming pool. And it's just it's a smart decision just to get the iguanas removed, instead of having to clean the feces like we mentioned, and call the pool guy constantly, and sometimes he won't be around. So let's say if you have a pool party on Saturday, and this iguana decides to come early for your party, and he's uninvited, and he just leaves you a little present in the pool. Yeah, that could be a problem. This pool guy might not show up for a couple of hours, and you have a bunch of people in your home just trying to enjoy the pool that day, and you can't because you have to wait for the pool guy. So yeah, that's a problem in our opinion. When we offer our services to schools, we have to take a different approach in our iguana removal process. A lot of schools have these rules and regulations, and they're very careful of the method of that. They have different methods of what they allow us to use in these schools. Some don't allow traps, some don't allow any type of shooting around the school, and it's understandable because of the liability. So we try to always accommodate the person that's having these iguana problems. So when these schools have these iguana problems, we'll tell them the options we have. Hey, we have the trapping, we have the shooting, we have the long pole with a snare, and we have the nighttime iguana removal. And for schools, the nighttime iguana removal has been the most effective one. There's nobody in the school, there's no liability. So, we go in there at nighttime, use our pellet rifle and remove all these iguanas effectively, and no one knows, no one sees what's going on, so, and it's a lot safer. It's a lot safer for the kids, for the staff members. And there's also schools that do allow trapping, so what we'll do is when we get hired in these schools around Miami-Dade County or anywhere in South Florida, we'll put these traps in common areas where we see iguanas. And what that means is we'll go to the school, we'll do an assessment, and we'll just watch and see where the most iguana activity is. And once we find those locations, we'll place traps in those spots to, get these iguanas out. And it works great. We make sure to always hide these traps in spots where the kids can't see them, just so they don't see the whole process of the removing the iguanas. Legally, you're supposed to check the traps every 24 hours. We try and do it a lot quicker than that. So what we do is we try to talk to the staff, and usually they have a maintenance guy there, doing, working the grounds and stuff. So we'll tell them, hey, let's have a meeting with your maintenance guy. So we'll have a meeting. We'll tell them, hey, look, we're going to place these traps in these spots that are hidden behind these bushes. If you could just check them once a day for us and let us know that we caught an iguana, and we'll be right out to remove them. And that's exactly what we do. We'll set up the trap, we'll put the fresh food inside the traps, and then we'll typically go the same day or the following day early to remove these iguanas, but definitely before 24 hours. And the ones that don't allow the traps or the nighttime, we'll just use our long pole snare. So what that looks like is, we'll arrive to the property when we're able to service, and we'll walk around the entire property and we'll use this pole snare. And it's extremely effective as well. We can remove easily, we have removed effective easily, 15, 20, 25 iguanas in one visit in the schools that are highly infested using this method. So this is a less aggressive approach, but it does give results, especially for schools. This goes as well for hotels and condominiums. You always gotta work around your client. So we always try and do that. We always try and give the best offers we have for the services, to accommodate these buildings. When you have these hotels where a lot of tourists come in, there's not many methods that you could use on these properties. So again, we'll implement whatever it's available to implement for these specific properties. For hotels in particular, the nighttime has been one of the best ones, because typically the tourists are already in bed at a certain time, so we'll show up there when there's nobody around in the nighttime, and we'll just remove these iguanas. The baby iguanas as well. The baby iguanas are a big problem. Remember, the female iguanas lay 70 eggs a year, so when these hatch, these little baby iguanas just start running around all over the place. And when we do this iguana removal services at night, the baby iguanas are typically sleeping in bushes, so we'll go with our LED flashlight and we'll just, hand pick these iguanas, and this is extremely effective. So when we do associations, when we provide iguana removal services, it's a little bit more complicated. Remember, these associations have, anywhere from 10 to hundreds of homes inside this one association. So what we do is we'll have a meeting with the property manager, and they'll tell us what's going on, what's being impacted, how they're being impacted by iguanas, and then we'll come up with an iguana control plan to eradicate these iguanas from their property. And it's important because not every single home in the association is being impacted. It's mostly always around the ones around the whole border of the association, the outside. So we'll try and tackle those spots effectively. So we'll go to each one of those properties and we'll see what problems they're having, and then we'll see if we have to use traps or if we can use our snare. So again, we'll use different tools, to accommodate the property to have the best results. The associations are the ones are always highly infested. I know we do one association at Ventura, and they have a golf course right behind their association. So these iguanas, all they do is they just come over, because this golf course apparently is not doing any iguana removal services. We've contacted them before personally, which is something we always do, to try and control the iguanas on their side to help avoid them from coming onto the association. That's something we always constantly do. If we're doing one property, we try and contact the neighboring properties to get all the iguanas, from the surrounding areas, to avoid new infestations from continue coming in. So, on this association, we will also try and implement deterrent methods. Deterrent methods meaning that we'll install barriers around the outside where the iguanas are coming in through. Like I mentioned in one of our episodes, if there's trees overhanging from the golf course into the property, we'll tell these the association property manager, hey, let's cut these trees back so they don't keep climbing over. And if they have a fence line around the outside, we'll offer our clear iguana tree wrap. It's a clear wrap that we use around trees to help, deter iguanas from climbing over. So we use that, on trees, on fences, on different objects, and it works really well around the perimeter of the properties. We're going to talk more about that iguana clear wrap in one of our episodes, and how beneficial it's been for homeowners that love their trees. So the iguana control, iguana remove services that we provide, it's always very specific. Like I mentioned, every property is different. They have different issues, different problems. So we always try and give the best control method to help deter these iguanas from climbing onto the property and causing damages. So if you're a property owner or a property manager and you haven't had any luck with another company or yourself, in a matter of fact, of getting these iguanas away, we have a bunch of different methods that we use to implement iguana removal services. Every plan that we implement into your property, it's very specific. We always have a certain game plan to have the best results. So let's say that if you hire us and we are unsuccessful the first visit to remove any iguanas, we'll tell you automatically, listen, You have too many trees. The iguanas are hiding in spots when we come and we can't see them, because that happens at times. There's times that iguanas are hiding in bushes and you're not going to see them. So then we'll offer them our nighttime iguana removal services, and that's been the game changer. For many properties, they've had years of unsuccessful trapping or moving, and we'll tell them about our nighttime, and the first night we'll remove a bunch of iguanas, and they've been extremely happy with that, with that outcome. So for when it comes to removing iguanas from cemeteries, that's kind of a touchy subject. There's always people there, doing their thing, viewing their loved ones, if you want to call it that. And we do this one specific cemetery in North Miami that's infested with iguanas. I mean, they have hundreds of iguanas. They just let it go. Remember, this all starts by just seeing one iguana. Then you see two. And then these two iguanas, maybe they're a male and female, they'll mate, they'll lay their eggs, and now you have, maybe 73 iguanas, because again, the female iguanas lay 70 eggs in a year, up to. And it just goes on from there, 70 and 70 and 70 and 70. So by the time you saw you only had 2 or 3 iguanas, now you have hundreds of iguanas, which is exactly the case at this specific cemetery. We've been there for a couple months now, and we've removed, over 40 to 50 iguanas at this one location. And you have to remember that it's kind of tricky when you do iguana removal services in certain properties like cemeteries. When there's a lot of people, you got to be extremely careful. Trapping is not really allowed in cemeteries because there's not really anywhere to put them. It's a very open area, so you can't really put traps all over the place. A lot of cemeteries don't like that idea. So again, on this particular property, we have to use the air pellet rifle method. So we'll drive around the cemetery and we'll look for iguanas, and we'll use that method to remove these iguanas. And having iguanas in cemeteries is not a good idea. Like I mentioned in one of our episodes, the iguanas dig burrows to lay their eggs. So where there's plaques, we've seen holes around the borders of these cemeteries. I mean, the grounds of the plaques, and these are the iguanas digging burrows to lay their eggs. So these iguanas could dig up to 70 feet long. So they could reach a spot down there that, we'll talk about that on another episode. So we've seen these holes before around these plaques, and we know exactly what's happening. They're digging holes because it's a softer area, and they can reach, the coffin area. We met someone that was actually a property manager, that he had a friend that worked at a cemetery, and he told us this story that was kind of freaky to us, that, he had a bunch of iguanas in the cemetery in the Keys. I think it was a Key West. And he saw an iguana come out one day from one of the holes, and he had a piece of cloth in his mouth. Now, I'm not sure if he got deep enough to reach what we think he reached. I'm not sure what happened there, but I heard that story, and it was kind of mind-boggling to me that actually can happen. So that's just one of the problems of having iguanas with around cemeteries. So, like I mentioned before, providing iguana removal services is not just removing these reptiles. It's a lot more than that. We like to offer the best available service we can to help control this population of invasive iguanas, and whatever method is going to work the best for your property. We like to take our time when we give our estimates to make sure we have the best outcome, so you guys are happy. All our clients are happy with our services. So that pretty much wraps up our iguana removal services podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We want to hear from you guys. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, if you have iguana problems yourself, we would love to hear from you. And if you guys want to hear about a certain topic on one of our podcast episodes, we would love to talk about that. So until the next time, thanks for watching. See you later. Thanks for tuning into the episode of the Iguana Chronicles. We hope you enjoyed the deep dive into the challenges and triumphs of managing South Florida's iguana population. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you listen to this podcast. Stay informed and stay proactive. Together we can make a difference. Until next time, keep an eye out for those iguanas.